the courts are often a source of anger for the public. They kind of become a punching bag at times from both the media and the public, who think the courts are too soft on crime. Do they have the wrong idea, or are they just not informed enough of what's going on here?
I don't think it would be insulting and a bit too dismissive for me to say the public has no idea what's going on. I think I do take issue, because there's two issues here. There's the perception, and I take issue with the perception. I don't think it's accurate to say that judges are soft on crime per se. But then there's a second issue. Why does the perception exist? So let's just deal with the first issue. I mean, are judges soft on crime? You could talk to any judge in any court, and I don't think any judge would say that they're not concerned about the security and welfare of the citizens of Manitoba or Canada. Do they consider themselves law and order? Well, no. They consider themselves as responsible citizens who believe their fellow citizens should be protected from criminal acts. I say that with complete confidence. So then you look to what it is they're doing when they're sentencing, what judges are doing when they're sentencing. What they're doing is fearlessly trying to interpret and apply the law as they see it to the given facts as it relates to the offender and the offense. Do they always get it right? Well, no. In those cases where they get it wrong and where the Crown chooses to appeal, where the defense chooses to appeal, then if there's an erroneous decision, it's corrected by the Court of Appeal. If it's not appealed, well, the only inference one can draw is that the decision was more or less in keeping with the law as it exists. The second part of the question, though, is, and let me say that if the law has to advance in a given area, if there are areas of sentencing where a particular crime is particularly prevalent and where sentences need to be ratcheted up a notch, that can happen, and that happens as a result of a decision at a trial level and an affirming decision at the Court of Appeal. That takes time, and when it happens, you see the progress of the law in the area of criminal law sentencing. So that can occur as well. So I don't accept the premise that judges are soft on crime. I think judges, as conscientiously as they can, apply and interpret the law to the facts of every case that they have. Does that mean that always pleases the citizenry of any given province or country? Well, no, I don't think it does. But the job of a sentencing judge is to apply the law to the facts. And if the law needs to be brought along a little bit, well, then that will happen with the assistance of submissions from the Crown, submissions of defense, and with ultimate decisions by judges. But why does the perception exist? Again, I sort of come back to the point I was talking about earlier on. Part of it is, we as judges, I think, have to do a better job in some ways of explaining our decisions, why it is we impose, for example, in those cases where the perception might exist that the sentencing is lower, why we've chosen to do that, why that the principles of sentencing permit us to do that, why the facts of this case require it, in our view, and then defend it with a hopefully lucid analysis that the average person and journalists can understand. I don't blame journalists for headlines that starkly state such and such has happened, and then the headline itself for many citizens speaks volumes. You don't control the headlines. It's editors and people at your paper who do, and that's understandable. We're not victimizing ourselves about those headlines. But all I guess a judge would want is that once the decision is explained, that the explanation is in some way put forward, whether it involves the judge's reasons or perhaps even the positions of the parties. In some cases, you get a sentence that's imposed because the two parties have agreed to the sentence, and it's not an appropriate sentence for the judge to, as they say, jump the joint recommendation. But a lot of the difficulty would be, I think, neutralized by what papers like yours are increasingly doing, which is linking judgments to the articles about the sentences. But having said that, I don't think the judges, through their chief, and that's where I have to come in, can abdicate the role of better explaining what it is we do, how we do it, why principles of sentencing are sometimes applied in particular ways, and doing that part of outreach, that part of the provision of public information. I mean, I'm not, and I don't ever want to be a a judicial spin doctor. That's not what my job is. But I do want to provide public information so as to allow the average citizen to better understand what we do and why we do it.